Well, calls of impeachment are being brought up again, this time in light of recent actions by President Trump, including the whole call Washington Post released with the Georgia Secretary of State, in which Trump asks him to find votes. But with Trump set to leave office this month, is impeachment really an option? Joining us now is Virginia Tech political professor Karen Halt. Karen, thank you so much for joining us this morning. I know you and other legal scholars have looked at this every which way, so there's a lot I want to ask you. Good morning.
Good morning.
All right, a lot of Democratic lawmakers insist that Trump's actions on the call were clearly an impeachable offense. Do you believe that to be the case?
I certainly think there's an argument that they can make that it is indeed an impeachable offense on a variety of reasons. It can range from abuse of power to an alleged failure of the president to uphold his constitutional oath to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution.
All right, so now there's the question of if that is the case, is it worth it? The president has little more than 2 weeks left in office. You have to have a formal investigations, hearings, things like that. Is it possible to get this all done in that short amount of time?
Probably it's not, for a variety of reasons that you just pointed out. Moreover, one can argue that there would be many arguments against, especially the U.S. House, undertaking this at a time in which the pandemic continues to exacerbate, a new administration is coming in, and a whole range of other policy problems shape the United States and affect the United States right now.
So in other words, there's bigger things to worry about at this point instead of the impeachment. Yes. So one of the things that's been talked about, not nearly as much given the circumstances, is can you impeach a president after he leaves office, and why would one do that?
That's somewhat unclear because it's never happened before, but certainly there seems to be little doubt that one can impeach and then vote to remove, in fact, convict, that is, a president once he leaves office. Why would one do that? One can imagine at least a couple of reasons. One would be, in general, to make it clear on the record that there's real concern about the abuse of power of the departing president. A second concern may be, in the case of someone like Donald Trump, would be that if a president were impeached and convicted, one of the things that the Senate could vote to do is to keep the person from ever holding public office again. And in that case, that would bar the outgoing president from running for re-election in the future.
Do you suspect, given all that has happened during Trump's presidency, do you think that there will be protections that will be put in place in order to prevent some of these things from happening and possibly lowering the threshold to take more action in the future?
One could argue there could be, but others would argue those protections are already there. There's a lot of people that have raised issues about the presidential phone call violating both national laws and state laws in the state of Georgia. Probably what needs to be done, and this is really hard to do legislatively, is to reinforce existing norms about appropriate presidential behavior. That's much more difficult to achieve.
With your background and your expertise and everything that you've seen, what would you, if you were to advise the Democrats, what would you say is the best course of action?
I would suggest that continue to criticize, but also do it in a more constructive way looking forward. The final thing I would like to see more attention paid to is one or both of the houses censuring the outgoing president. That does not involve a presidential veto. The House can do it separately from the Senate. And so that would both make the point that this is unacceptable behavior, but allow governing to continue.
Okay. All right. Virginia Tech political professor Karen Halt, thank you for clearing so much of this up for us. And I suspect this won't be the last time you talk about this, at least not in the next couple of weeks or so.
Absolutely.
Appreciate your time.